Welcome everyone to today's session titled Microsoft Teams, Calling Solutions by Orange. Now I'd like to introduce your first presenter, Sandy Walker. Sandy is the Global Partner Lead for Microsoft Teams at Microsoft. Sandy, you have the floor.
Sandy, thank you so much, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are. So Sandy says, I'm Sandy Walker from Microsoft, Worldwide Partner Lead for Teams. And introducing this session today. So I speak to a lot of partners about their capabilities and their plans to enable Teams in our customers or in your end estates. And with that in mind, I'm very, very pleased to be here with Orange. They're one of our most exciting partners to work with. But importantly, I'm also joined by Michael and Brad from Orange. So perhaps, gentlemen, you could introduce yourselves.
Yes, good day, everyone. My name is Michael Burrell, and I am the Global Practice Director focusing on collaboration with Microsoft. Brad?
Hey, everyone. I'm Brad Lewis. I'm Michael's peer as the Global Practice Director for our meetings solutions.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, and thank you for having me here with you today. So let's kick off. So on this first slide, we can see that it's been a super exciting few years for Teams, especially so in the last few months with all this enforced remote working, which has accelerated the need for that enterprise-grade collaboration tool that we've all been asking for. We've grown from 13 million daily active users to well over 115 million daily active users last quarter. This rapid growth is underpinned by the need for deeper employee collaboration and a holistic view of the whole employee experience. This is top of mind for our customers and top of mind for Microsoft as well. To enable this, there's constant innovation, some of which you'll have seen rolling on the screen behind the graph. And with Teams and these innovations, we're helping to enable your organizations and your users to be more engaged, more productive, and more secure. There's some amazing stats here that sits behind all of this. For example, on the left-hand side, you can see over 200 million meeting participants every day, and that which generates over 5 billion meeting minutes. And that's why, one of the reasons why, when you think about Teams and the more complex workloads like voice, phone system, or optimizing the meetings experience, it's important to speak to a Microsoft partner who has the right skills and the right scale to support you wherever you are. This is why I'm very pleased to have Orange here with me today. So why Orange? Well, Orange is one of our key global strategic partners. We've worked together for nearly 20 years. They fulfill all the usual requirements of a top flight partner for things like accreditations, but more importantly, work with us at a programmatic and an engineering level. They've got great pedigree and are, as you can see from the screen, one of our most successful partners to date for Teams. And we recognize them for that as well. For example, being finalist last year in Partner of the Year. So great all-round partner with great end-to-end skills. Now, before I hand over to Brad, a quick reminder to everyone that feel free to ask any questions. We've got a Q&A panel on your screens, so throw your questions in there and we'll grab them as we go. So with that, Brad, over to you.
Thanks, Sandy. As you can see here, we've been working with a number of customers around the world, helping them move from Teams only for team collaboration and persistent chat to move to Teams as their meeting platform and calling platform, i.e. to make it a full workload client for them. You can see some of the customers we've been working with on this slide over the last year and a half. On to the next slide. One of the customers we're most proud of is Microsoft themselves. We started working with Microsoft first on a proof of concept on our voice services about 10 years ago, then moved to a field trial, and now employees across Europe, South Africa, and Canada actually use Orange's voice services for their internal use and for their internal transformation as they moved from Skype for Business to Teams. We are honored to have Microsoft as a customer, and it's a great endorsement of the quality of Orange's voice service. So now I'll turn it over to my colleague, Michael, to go deeper into calling.
Thank you, Brad. So you've heard about Sandy about the tremendous user adoption of Microsoft Teams for a team collaboration app. But what about calling, and what about Microsoft Teams phone system? Microsoft worked back about 3 years ago to build the phone system within Teams from a brand new infrastructure. And so phone system has all of the capabilities that you have been used to in terms of your classic PBXs. Everything from your basic features like being able to mute, unmute calls, put them on hold, transfer calls, simultaneous ring, to advanced features like call queues that you could set up where a call coming in, you can have a number menu where it's press 1 for sales, 2 for customer service, or auto attendance, and then voicemail on Azure. Besides this, the only other thing you would need would be the phone system license, and you can either buy it a la carte or through an E5 license, which bundles that along with advanced analytics and security features. So the big question you may be asking is, can Teams phone system replace my PBX? Well, you can see the list of features that are available today, a multitude of features, everything that you could think about from your traditional PBX. Beyond that, though, what's coming to you this year in phone system is the ability to do site survivability with a survivable branch appliance. So in the event that a site is unable to directly connect to the service over the internet, there's a fallback mechanism so Teams and users can continue to make phone calls. There's a brand new client layout that's available now. It brings all the important elements of calling together in one view to give you a better user experience and control over calling as an application. There's continued contact center integration, and we support all of these partners with contact center as a service. You can see some quality of service that has been added, the ability to transfer a call, like if you are on a laptop and you need to leave your office or leave your home, you could transfer your meeting or your call from a laptop to a mobile phone and vice versa. Some other features enhance the ability of the voice quality of service by capping the data, video in particular, if you're in a low bandwidth mode, or implementing a call admission control where there's a call limiter to conserve bandwidth as well if there are multiple simultaneous calls being made. And for those of you that still have a large investment, for example, in Cisco, Microsoft Teams later this year will be able to support the Cisco multi-platform phones through a SIP gateway, along with supporting the third-party IP phones from Skype for Business days. So both of those measures will help you to extend the investments you currently have. So what are your options to make and receive calls with Teams? So now you've got phone system. How do you call outside your company? Well, one option is a Microsoft calling plan. It's a quick way to get started. It's simple. You can order it through your admin center. However, it's designed more so for small, medium-sized businesses or businesses that are around 2,000 users or less, because you need communication credits. And then there are some customers that would prefer to pay usage billing rather than a flat rate per user. But that calling plan is available in 24 countries along with 2 partner calling plans in Australia and Japan. Another option is direct routing, and we can deliver this as a service with no equipment required through dedicated SBCs dedicated to your enterprise. And they're typically designed, direct routing is for large enterprises or multinational corporations with complex requirements, and it's highly customizable. You can integrate contact center. You can support your legacy analog that you discover is still out there, controlling elevators, security systems, overhead paging, fax machines, and so on. And direct routing is available from Orange in 80 countries. And then the latest innovation now that was announced last week at Microsoft Ignite is Operator Connect. So we deliver this through a direct peering connection to Microsoft Teams, And this at the moment is designed for SMBs and enterprises with simple requirements, and it will be available in 25 countries initially. So the service is under development now in the second quarter, and then in June, we expect general availability. So what is direct routing from Orange? Well, essentially it enables your team phone system users to make or receive calls. We deploy a session border controller in our cloud through our Microsoft data centers that connects and synchronizes with Microsoft Teams over the internet and with your Office 365 tenant, and everything is delivered as a service. We give you the following advantages. It eases your transition to Teams phone system because typically these types of migrations are going to happen site by site, region by region. We have the ability to integrate your existing telephony system by integrating through a SIP trunk and a gateway. Plus, we can meet the complex regulatory challenge in places like China, dealing with the Great China Firewall, in India, where the Department of Telecommunication is very restrictive about remote PBX services and using Indian telcos, or Russia, where you have to respect the data privacy laws and so on. We have specific designs to help you in all over the world to take care of the regulatory complexity of the service. You get high voice quality of service, and we implement things like media bypass or local media optimization, which keeps local calls local. So if you've got a location, a branch office calling from China to China, only the signaling comes back to Microsoft Teams, but the call stays local. And then, as I mentioned earlier, support for analog devices. You're always surprised when you do a site survey what's still out there in your locations. And on the right-hand side, the service is available to be able to make domestic or international calls from 80 countries and then complete local voice service in 50, which means you can replace your local telco. So let's drill down a little bit deeper. So what does direct routing look like from a high-level design standpoint? Well, you have your Office 365 tenant, you add Teams phone system by buying the licenses, and then we pair our SBC with the Office 365 tenant. We have regional data centers hosting the SBCs, so we limit the distance that the call has to travel in order to avoid delay and impairing the voice quality of service. And then we have two types of sites, as you'll see on the left. We have sites without gateways. That's where in those 50 countries that I mentioned, we can replace your local telco. You can consolidate your voice service, and you don't need a voice gateway or anything on premise. We come strictly through your internet breakout at that site. If, however, you have sites in countries where the regulatory restrictions are still in place, it's not wide open to competition or other reasons, right? We can always drop in a gateway and then enable the SBC on that gateway for local calling. And then you see on the right your tenant, and then on the top, the enterprise dedicated SBCs that are be dedicated to your corporation, along with Orange providing the administration support, the SIP trunks to be able to manage your phone numbers and so on. And then that connects out to our intelligent voice network, along with being able to connect to other third-party telcos where we can offer local voice service. How about Operator Connect, which is brand new and under development? Well, this will enable us to deliver calling and conferencing without any additional deployment, and something that can be ordered and activated directly through the Teams Admin Center. So you can go in Teams Admin Center, select Orange, select the trunk, select the number, and then everything flows through our system to enable voice calling globally. And then you can see from the diagram a little bit further down in the middle, how we connect using our carrier class SBCs in this case, rather than the enterprise class SBCs with direct routing. And then we go through an MPLS interco directly connected to Microsoft's tenant through ExpressRoute. And so the benefit for you is, you can have this service in 25 countries, and then we'll roll out additional countries over time. You can also leverage the same service for calling, or for conferencing rather. So if you're setting up a Microsoft Teams meeting and you want to enable somebody to join from the PSTN by dialing in, that will be available shortly after Operator Connect is available. So you can take advantage of the full digital journey thanks to the combination of Teams and our digital tools, smooth transition from whatever you're on today to Teams phone system, and then voice connectivity flexibility from simple with Operator Connect to complex with direct routing. So where, do you ask, does Orange provide voice service? Well, you can see everywhere that is in orange, those are countries where we can completely replace the local telco. And then we're expanding that every year. So this year we're evaluating Mexico, we're going deeper in Brazil, Malaysia, and other countries. There's about 9 countries on the list that we're trying to expand countries to. The countries in blue are where we can offer local voice, but it involves DID porting, so you can keep your numbers and we can port them, or we can generate a new DID number range. However, we don't offer emergency services in those countries, but there are other alternatives to do that, through keeping an analog phone, on a floor and so on. The beauty of this is that no equipment is needed. You can go pure cloud. Business Talk Digital is a new way to manage your voice service and your numbers. You can order and activate a DID in less than 2 minutes. It's unique self-care. It gives you full visibility and control over your number ranges or the ability to order new numbers. It's predefined alternate routing. So in the event that an office is closed for a holiday in one country, you can reroute those calls, and then everything is accessible through an API if you want to extend it back into your environment or your enterprise. So the benefit is obvious. It's faster delivery and numbers are ready for use in minutes. You can manage all your numbers with ease, and there's unlimited access, unlimited user accounts, and unlimited changes per month. So Dan, who works and manages the service for a very large professional services firm with over 70,000 users, gave us this feedback. He said, I'm using Business Talk Digital, create new sites, buy and port numbers. I created 110 sites. I bought and ported 95 DID ranges. I already performed 20,000 in cost savings, and I deployed faster than expected. So now what about within Microsoft Teams and phone system itself? How do you get started? Well, from a provisioning standpoint, your challenges are, your users need, first of all, their identity in Azure AD Connect. We need the phone numbers assigned. You may have to deal with analog DECT phones as well. You need to assign your licenses, your calling policy, who can call where. Limiting users, you can only call domestic, you can call domestic and international, or, for example, taking care in certain countries like Brazil, where it's more expensive to make a call to a mobile phone than it is to make an international call. What about your dial plan and rebuilding it and voice routing policies, all those things? And then on the right-hand side, you need to manage your complex locations, be able to conduct audits to ensure that your licenses are assigned and there's no inconsistency, the wrong license assigned to the wrong person, common area phones, are all these things. So what Orange has developed is a way, a self-care portal, to enable you to manage this all in a very effortless manner. So what that means is through our self-care portal, you can manage phone system, you can manage Microsoft calling plans if you choose to use them, you can manage our direct routing in Teams, you can manage as well even third-party telco numbers that we will show you through the self-care portal, along with interface with the session border controllers, third-party PBXs, and so on. So that is available through the self-care tool. And one of the main benefits is it allows you to automate provisioning for Teams voice. So we'll work with you to set up direct routing profiles where end users, based on their requirements or end user personas, will have their own settings depending on their needs. And we define comprehensive settings, including dial plan, the URI, enterprise voice, voicemail, and so on. And then we set up the calling policy along with the profile of where they can call. And then we have migration profile options. For example, if you're on Skype for Business, there are 7 options, starting with Islands mode all the way through to upgrade to Teams that are available through the portal. And then the provisioning can be delivered in what makes best sense for you. It can be automated, group-based provisioning, where you're going to move the marketing department or sales or finance, or it can be bulk provisioning, where you give us a CVS file and we upload it, or it can be one by one. And without the Orange Self-Care portal, then you would have to manually configure these user settings through the Microsoft Teams Admin Center, or use PowerShell to develop the programming logic to be able to do this. Well, we've done this all for you through the self-care portal. What about change management once you go into the run phase? Well, likewise, we have automated a number of simple changes that can be done through the portal. In terms of the things you see on the left-hand side of the screen, if you have a complex change, like you want to set up a call queue or an automated attendant or your dial plan changes, then what we do in that case is we have templates that are designed that you just fill out the template and then it goes to our change management desk and we accomplish that. And then there are custom changes that can be set up, through a working with your customer success manager. You will receive a change catalog for managing the changes in an industrialized and controlled manner, and you can perform all the changes just through clicks within the portal itself. In fact, we have automated 250 standard changes within our self-care portal. Everything flows according to your context. For example, your inputs, your workflow, your change advisory board. We set up service level objectives and so on and so forth. And then everything is requested and tracked through the portal. So you have an audit trail that if you need to say, well, who changed this? You could see this because it's tracked through the portal. So what lessons have we learned from our experience? Well, we've been doing this since 2008. And you say to me, well, wait a minute, Michael, Teams has only been around since March of 2017, but we started way back when with Office Communication Server doing a private cloud deployment or on-prem. And then we moved along to Link 2010, 2013, Skype for Business, Skype for Business Online. And so we've been helping customers move from on-premise of whatever they're on to Microsoft Cloud Voice or Enterprise Voice for 11 years now. We understand what it takes from a planning and execution standpoint. So, beware to not underestimate the complexity, especially when you get into uncharted territory in some countries, being able to observe the regulatory requirements. Like even in the US, for example, where they've just recently passed more stringent emergency calling laws, such as Kerry's Law, Raybound's Law. You also need to take care in your planning phase of upgrades to the infrastructure. For example, What about the wide area network, or in this case, the public internet? Do you have local internet breakout? What about the local area, which is even more important? Are you running a wireless LAN? What about your access points or wireless access point density? You want to take care about the end user experience, go through and create personas or use cases. Are the employees mobile? Are they in the field? Are they at a desk? Are they knowledge workers versus information workers? What about automated attendance or receptionists? What about conference rooms, common area phones? And so all of these things need to be taken into consideration in the planning phase, along with end user adoption. How do you ensure that you have a good journey for the end users? We take care of all of the legal and regulatory constraints. I've mentioned several of them already. Data sovereignty laws like in Russia or Germany, and then what about GDPR in Europe? Let's take the high visibility of the project and mitigate the risk, right? And then don't forget the ecosystem when you need phones or any kind of other devices. Brad will talk to you about Microsoft Teams rooms, or if you need applications to augment Microsoft Teams, of which the chief would be contact center. And then the right-hand side, execution, right? Identify the complexity right up front in the assessment phase. Make sure you're planning the right resources and staffing of the project so that it doesn't get constrained or stalled out because your staff is overworked or not overworked, but just drawn away on other projects. Take care of the provisioning and transition plan. Make room for the site surveys, right? In the same way you would profile end users, you would also profile sites, mission critical sites, small branch offices. What about plants, like manufacturing plants or locations that have special requirements? And then how are you going to deploy the equipment? Orange is not only a network service provider and voice provider, but we're also a global integrator with the ability to deliver equipment where you need it, such as phones or other endpoints or Microsoft meeting rooms. Coexistence, being able to integrate your legacy or even Skype for Business while you move through a transformation that may take 6 to 18 months, depending on your size and complexity and so on. So lessons learned, and then one of the main things is adoption. What is your plan to ensure the users know what's coming? And so we work with you before, during, and after deployment. And the customized communication plan is based on our best practices, where we understand and anticipate what the users are going to need, and we set up a communication plan of the frequency of here, this is what we're working on, this is what's coming, it's going to arrive in so many days, it's here. And then we conduct focus groups to understand the user requirements and how the service can be adapted. What about equipment choice? Choosing phones, headsets, other things you may need for conference rooms, and then execute the communication plan. And then during the deployment, making sure that we have the right support at the right time. We identify ambassadors who will be champions for the service to adopt early and then spread the word. We can provide on-site coaching for your large sites, or what's more common is e-learning, where you can have learning on demand customized for all of the team workloads. After deployment and usage satisfaction, how did we do? What does the adoption look like? Are the users using the service so that you can drive value out of your investment? Are there any problems, anything that needs to be remediated? And that would be all occurring through a global feedback session. But what about contact center, right? In this case, you can have the best of both worlds of team collaboration with Microsoft Teams, and then customer engagement working in a single unified environment. So not only do we provide Microsoft Teams services, but we also provide contact center as a service to help you select the right contact center for your needs. And we work with Genesys, NICE, and Anywhere 365, which is Workstream People. And then once you select it, we can deploy it, integrate it in your team's environment, and then manage it if you so choose. And essentially what this does is it extends your contact center organization to involve everybody in the company. So what if you have a contact center focused on customer service and you need somebody in ordering to help a customer with an order? Well, you can leverage Genesys Cloud on the agent side and Teams to be able to find and identify a group of people to go to. Or if you have a sales opportunity and you need to bring in an expert on demand, it's a great way to bring it all together. And this just shows how we bridge the gap between Microsoft Teams and Genesys Cloud by synchronizing the directories so that you can search within Genesys Cloud for a Microsoft Teams contact and then push information to them and then find them through their presence. And then you could transfer interactions between the two and enable calling. So it is really an elegant way to serve either your customer service facing contact centers or revenue generating ones. So let me go ahead and pause and see, Sandy, if there were any questions about anything we've discussed with respect to Teams phone system and calling.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Super interesting. There's been a couple of questions in the Q&A board, so a quick reminder to everyone. So feel free to add any questions there. So one actually flows on from the last conversation there, or the last piece there around contact center, was around receptions and attendant consoles. Is that also something that's fairly straightforward to provide?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's two ways to do that. You can use built into Microsoft Teams either attendant consoles with call queues, right? So you can have people that are calling your office. If they're calling the general number, they can actually look up an end user by name or by number, or they could be routed to a call queue where you could set up, press 1 for sales, 2 for customer service, and so on. Or you could do a standalone attending console. For example, we supply them from Peter Connects or Landis Pro. If you need something that is more powerful than what comes out of the box with Microsoft Teams, or you go full-blown contact center. So hopefully that helps.
So I think we've answered most things. Well, that's answered everything in the Q&A board. So back to you guys.
All right, let's wrap it up. Thanks for that, Sandy. So to recap, we are there for you globally. Direct routing as a service, contact center as a service, video as a service. Leverage our experience to reduce risk for you and drive the full value with Microsoft Teams. And it's not just centralized experience. We have offices in over 100 countries and can support locally, whether it's a gateway or a video endpoint at a specific location. We can offer a best-in-class user experience. Our net promoter scores have been rising year over year. And as Michael had mentioned earlier, our experience with the predecessors of Teams goes back to 2008 with Office Communications Server. As Sandy had mentioned, at Microsoft Inspire, Orange was honored for being Partner of the Year finalist for calling and meetings. And finally, we're not just a service provider, but also an integrator. We really can provide you a full turnkey solution, not just out of the cloud solutions, but the actual physical equipment. So phones, headsets, handsets, video endpoints, etc. So how to get started? We talked about some proof of concepts earlier, and certainly a great way to get started, and hand it back to Michael to go into the details of a direct routing proof of concept.
Sure. So you were asking, well, how can I test the service to get a feel for the quality of service, whether it's direct routing in voice or cloud video interop? Well, we can set up a POC for you, and we've been doing dozens of these. But essentially, it involves Teams phone system, of which Microsoft will give you up to 100 licenses for a proof of concept. And then we do technical and functional assessment. We can provide you with guidance on what to test. We set it up for you, and then we can enable 10 or more users in 3 different sites to be able to test the service, along with your Microsoft certified SBC. You can run it for up to 2 months, and then you come back and we talk about how did it go. We'll have a consultant to work with you along the way to gather your requirements, help get your people set up, be there on day 1 when the pilot kicks off or the proof of concept kicks off. And it's a great way to experience the quality of the service and test the feature functionality.
Thanks to everyone for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the session and that you found today's information valuable.